The increase in price was still definitely there. You're up about 50,000 month over month. Yes.
Wild.
I wanted to show that these are all the houses in the last 30 days in the Niagara region that have sold for under 500,000. It's not specific to just what would be considered the cheaper markets, Port Colborne and Fort Erie. It's everywhere.
It's still possible.
Short-term rentals. This is the way that I searched this was just basically weekend availability between now and the end of the year. And this is all that came up.
So this is the opportunity you're pointing out, is that there aren't a lot of Airbnbs?
I'm saying there's either they're booked or there's just not enough of them.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I am Andrew Hines and I'm taking over the channel for the month to do the real estate market updates. I have Kayla Smith with me today and we're going to jump into a market update for Niagara in just a second. But just so you know who I am, I'm a real estate investor originally from Ontario, and I've got investments both there and in the United States and Florida. And I also have a real estate podcast. So that's the number one place you can find me. If you just search my name, Andrew Hines, on any of the podcast platforms, that's where you'll find me. But now back to the real estate market update with Kayla. First off, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Andrew. Great. Excited to hop into the presentation with you.
Yeah, well, I've been told that you have a presentation for me and for us, for everyone.
So these are the February stats for the Niagara region. So as everyone knows, we actually haven't been done this format in a bit, but I am an agent in the Niagara region as well as an investor. So I always post in these presentations just a little snippet from the market updates that or the stats that the Niagara region provides, the Niagara Association of Realtors. I thought this one was super interesting because, I mean, Andrew, you may have heard this before, but investors kind of get a bad rap for being the reason for the lack of inventory / price issue with housing. But this is a whole thing about NIMBYism, so not in my backyardism, and how, that's kind of the issue with the housing at the moment. But I thought that the last paragraph was kind of super interesting and kind of funny. So while building housing is very costly, opposing new development costs almost nothing. So strong is the opposition to development. Some have created a new term for NIMBYism, bananas, build absolutely nothing anywhere near anything. To quote one mayor, NIMBYism has gone bananas. This is not just bad policy, it's exclusionary and wrong.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was an interesting way to start, because I know we have kind of seen, a massive lack of inventory, a huge increase in prices, and fingers pointed every which way. But this is straight from, our association. So I just thought that was interesting and wanted to share. And NIMBYism has gone bananas, made me laugh.
Yeah, that is interesting. I was going to say, should we not just start by saying it's crazy out there?
Yeah.
I feel like every market update I'm going to do, we're going to start with. So it's kind of crazy right now, huh?
Yes, it's crazy, but we're seeing, and this is seasonality as well in real estate. We're used to seeing more inventory come in with the spring market, but I don't know if it's a mixture of, it was March break, and in the last few weeks, we have seen quite a bit of inventory come on the market, but there has been some opportunity in the last few weeks, I would say. Well,
for those who have been sort of living under the rock, we've been record low inventory for a long time, record high prices. And then we had the rate hike and the whole conflict in Russia, Ukraine start. And it seems like some opportunities opened up. That was my take.
Yeah. And
a little bit of a slowdown.
Agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally agree.
Let's get into some of these details. This would predate those specific events, correct?
Yeah. So this is for this is just year over year from last February to this February. So this has kind of been standard across the board every time we've done a year over year update. But the interesting thing about this one is the number of new listings and the number of new sales are really not all that different year over year.
Okay.
Obviously, the big difference is the price. We know that it's $200,000 difference in a year. And again, it varies depending on what city you're in. And then the average days on market has gone down. And I will say February of last year, real estate market kind of followed what the COVID restrictions were doing at the time. So that also plays an effect into this. But again, this has just kind of been across the board for every
How do you
month
mean that they
year over
follow
year update.
the COVID restrictions?
Sorry?
How do you mean they follow the COVID restrictions?
Like anytime that there was a lockdown, there was a little bit of a lull,
Okay.
or like any new announcements surrounding COVID, there tended to be a slight effect in the real estate
Right.
market, especially not so much as it got, I don't want to say old, but as people got used to it. But in the beginning, when anytime an announcement of a lockdown was coming or kids were out of school, there tended to be a trickle effect into the real estate market for whatever the reason was. With kids not in school, people have a harder time finding childcare and looking for houses, or they don't want to list because they have to teach at home and work from home, which obviously is quite a task. So this could have had some effect on this, but really it just kind of is reflective of what was happening this year, other than the price. The more interesting thing, I think, is the month over month. In January, number of new listings, 529. In February, 864. And then number of new sales, 454 in January 2022, 630 in February. So the increase from 529 to 864 and the increase from 454 to 630, there's a much bigger increase in number of new listings and sales. So that is helpful for buyers.
Yet somehow our days on market are still down month over month.
Which is interesting. And this is, so I usually preface that with like average days on market isn't my favorite measure of this. Like median days on market is probably better, which would still be sitting at that 5 to 8, depending on how long people are holding offers for.
Interesting distinction. Yeah, because you could have a couple that are, just immediately gone, but that doesn't really represent the entire batch.
Yeah, and then you have those that sit for that are still sitting after a year because they're super expensive, they're luxury properties, or they're overpriced. So yeah, that I find to be a bit skewed, but the increase in price was still definitely there. You're up about 50,000 month over month. Yes.
Wild. Yeah, and just to clarify for everyone, this is like the whole Niagara region, right? We're not just talking about Niagara Falls. Anyone who's maybe only passively listening here, we've got quite a few different locations included here.
Yeah, so every area in the Niagara region, and you can see, like when I went through it earlier, no area got left behind per se in the price increase. Everywhere increased. There are some areas that increased more than others, obviously. And then like Welland, that wasn't a huge increase. West Lincoln. So
what's our best opportunity that you see based on all this?
It depends on what you're looking for.
And what you know. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we get a lot of investors here, probably people who want to do conversions, people who want to pick up multifamilies. What are you hot on? What do you like out of all these different areas?
Area-wise, my focus recently, so we bought in Welland in December. Welland is kind of the investor paradise for conversions because historically the city's been the easiest to work with. I recently have been on like a Burr short-term rental train, which I would say whatever city allows. But yeah, so I mean, there's the numbers for that. And then just another way to look at them, which really shows kind of the percentage change. So year over year, again, there wasn't a huge change in number of sales versus number of new listings. The price was obviously the real indicator there. So 33.3% increase year over year. That varies month to month, but it's kind of fluctuates around that.
So let's just slow it down 1 second, just because it's a lot to take in on this slide. So there's a lot of important information here. So we've got the top table, got number of sales for February 2021, February 2022 following. So we had less sales in 2022 for February, but our
Yeah,
benchmark price is way up. So clearly indicating an inventory problem, not enough inventory driving the price up. So that's what we've seen there. And then in the bottom table, well, you've
that's
got
the
the
month
listings
over
too.
month.
Yeah, but then we got the month to month. So yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So the number of new listings actually had more new listings in Feb 22,
Hmm.
over 21 by 4.9%. And then, yeah, we're looking at the month to month. Yeah, as you were just saying, quite a few more listings in February over January, which
Yeah,
makes sense, right? Because normally this, as we get closer to spring, we get more and more people wanting to list. No one wants to move in the winter, right? They want to kind of do that in the spring.
yeah. So the interesting, like, again, yes, exactly, seasonality for sure. Following this, people still trying to capitalize on those, November, December, January prices also coming on the market. And I mean, as you can see, the price is still increasing, so it's not like they're losing. Um, and the one thing I find super interesting, like I said, the number of new listings, an increase of 63.3%, number of sales, only an increase of 38.8%. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where there's a little more to choose from, a little more to work with, and why people are maybe, like I said, finding opportunity that maybe wasn't there before. And that's not to say, like, this is anecdotal based on my own, my own clients and stuff, but we're finding, well, there's still multiple offers. Maybe instead of, the 10, 15, 20 we were seeing a few months ago, it's like two to 10, depending on the property. I will say, though, with investor clients that are still super bullish in Welland, those properties that do suit a conversion, whether it's to duplex or triplex, those still seem to be getting a ton of attention. And I think it's likely because those houses fit both the investor market and, families as well.
Right. Yeah,
All
there's
right.
still a lot happening. I think some people, and I even have this in my head, is are we going to potentially see the prices come down if we get enough
Mhm.
inventory come on? Do you see that happening, or do you just see this as a slowing in the growth of the price?
Yeah, like when I have this, it's obviously like the most common question we get from clients when they start looking, especially right now when things are, you're hearing talks of all these different things, and there's like maybe a little bit of a lull. March break kind of helped that as well. But I'm not seeing the prices necessarily go down, but what I'm seeing is that by not having 15, 20, 25 offers on every property, they're just not selling for absorbent amounts over
Mhm.
asking.
Right. So
Still
that's
over asking for sure. Just
right.
not quite where they were, which will help kind of level out the
Yep.
prices. Again, I don't think they're going down, but there's a
Mhm.
chance that
They
they
might
start to
plateau a
kind
little
of
bit
level.
more, or slow their growth in
Yeah,
terms of the yeah. Okay.
which is positive. In
I like a
turn,
more stable market. I do not enjoy the rapid growth market. I find it way more speculative, not based on the fundamentals.
yeah, and I agree with that as an investor and a realtor. It's tough when you have clients, that are within a certain budget, and they're seeing that, this house is listed for 499, let's say, and it's selling for like 8. It's exhausting, and you don't even really, what do you tell them where to look? But yes, I totally agree with you. And these are just, so Broker Bay is a booking system. A lot of realtors use it. This is the new listing volume. And I just wanted to show like the slow progression. This is from Jan 2022. Slowly but surely, we've been inching up. The only reason there's a massive dip at the end is because the March 13th, the week isn't over yet. But yeah, so this is just a visual way to display the data.
And this is per week. These are new listings per week.
Yeah. So each
Okay.
little curve is, yeah, per week. And then at the top, it's showing you kind of how many were sold, new listings,
Yeah.
showings, that type of thing. The one thing I will say is this is only taken from the broker base system. So like the average price is a little skewed, and there are other booking systems as well. So this isn't the
Right.
be all end all of information. It's just a good way to display the data.
Okay.
All right. And then what I did want to go over is sold prices. So I have a lot of clients that are, they're talking about, they want to get into investing. They don't know if they can. Price wise, of course, we talk about JV and those opportunities to use other people's money. But for the people that are, wanting to work within their own budget, I wanted to show that these are all the houses in the last 30 days in the Niagara region that have sold for under 500,000. It's not specific to just what would be considered the cheaper markets, Port Colborne, Fort Erie. It's everywhere.
It's still possible.
Yeah, it's
Well,
definitely.
those are probably some pretty small places in, say, St. Catharines.
Yeah, so I mean, there was one that was 480 square feet. That was the smallest. That was
Mhm.
Bradley. But above where it says AG, that's actually square footage, above
Okay.
grade square footage. So these are not all small houses.
Nice.
And this is, I mean, some of them would have worked very well for a flip. Kinsey was likely just a tear down. Elizabeth was a great flip. So a lot of these had different kind of plays on them. And some of them had 2-unit potential. Some of them would have been single family, but with the rents in the Niagara region, a lot of the single families at this price point still work. So I just wanted to show everyone, because we do get a lot of people that just come in discouraged because they don't think with the price increases that they have a shot. You do, as long as it takes a little bit longer, and it does, obviously it takes some perseverance, because these usually do get multiple offers just because you have more people with a restricted budget, but it is certainly doable.
Okay.
So that is that. And then I did want to touch on short-term rentals. So like I said, this is kind of my favorite little play right now in Niagara. Only some cities allow it. But this is the way that I searched. This was just basically weekend availability between now and the end of the year. And this is all that came up.
These are the only ones that are available.
Yeah.
Meaning everything else is booked. So
Yeah.
one specific weekend?
Not for one specific. I just gave any weekend. I'm flexible from now until December.
So this is the opportunity you're pointing out, is that there aren't a lot of Airbnbs?
I'm saying there's either they're booked, or there's just not enough of them. And to preface this, so I'm getting married in June, and we have a lot of people coming from out of city. So we've been looking at Airbnbs, we've been looking at the hotels, we've been trying to, figure out where everyone's staying, and we're having a heck of a time. The hotels are mostly booked. The Airbnbs, they're either not big enough or whatever. I didn't put a specific amount of people for this search.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like we have the most weddings that we're going to have from now until who knows when.
Oh yeah, because there's the pent up demand from the previous summers that were canceled.
Yes.
My wife and I got married in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to find accommodations, so expensive.
Yes.
Limited selection. So I would love to own a short-term rental up that way. Like, that would be fantastic. There's a beautiful region. Very, very keen on Niagara region.
Yeah, and then there's also, so the games I've talked about several times. So Canada 2022 Games is in August 6th to the 21st in Niagara. They've built gorgeous facilities, which I'll touch on after this, but they're now saying they're expecting 200,000 people to the region. It's going to be the biggest games that there have been, likely for a variety of reasons, but one, because it's just been delayed. And people are excited, and now they're selling tickets. And as a result of that, they're doing concerts and festivals, and Grape and Wine is happening this year. So there's just so much happening in the region that I just feel like this is a huge opportunity for, for anyone that's looking to get into that short-term space. And I've been asked if it's too late. Like, if I'm looking now, is it too late to get into it? I mean, of course, this depends on closing and how fast you can get it set up and those types of things. But this tells me no, because there's events from now until December.
Yeah, I'm curious just what your annual would look like. And I mean, maybe that's a conversation for a different day, but just how much of an opportunity that is. If somebody can, grow $60,000, $70,000, even up to $100,000, depending on what they get in that region, once you start talking numbers like that on an annual basis, it could make a lot of sense to even spend a bit more.
Yeah, and I do, like, I know people that are doing those types of numbers. So it's certainly possible. They're bigger houses, of course, but there's definitely and even people that are doing arbitrage with units seem to be doing very well. And that's a situation where you don't even have to own the house. You just have to, basically prove to the landlord your worth, and have them allow you to do it. And then you're kind of, you're good to go from there. So I just wanted to point that out. It's a question I get a lot. I think more and more people are interested in the short-term space for many reasons. One being, the lack of the need to deal with the landlord and tenant board, and the potential to make obviously quite a bit more money.
It's a nice plan A, right? You know, you can have
Yeah.
plan B, the regular rent, if plan A doesn't work out. So it's a cool way to approach it.
Yeah, I love different exit strategies, and I always tell like my short-term rental people, like, this is, you can do this, but you can also do this. You can flip it, because usually they're looking to get into a BRRRR as well. You can BRRRR short-term rentals too. You just do that first, obviously. So I just wanted to touch on that. And then speaking of just different things that are happening in Niagara, I like to touch on this because for a lot of the people I work with, it's investors from out of city. So they're not really sure of like what's happening in the area, what do people do, all those different things. So I have touched on this before, and that's why I put back to the hospital. So there was a nice hospital built in St. Catharines a few years back. This is going to be in Niagara Falls. Modern, nice, big, lots of high-paying jobs to the area. It's right off the QEW. So for the people that are, that own in Niagara now, Niagara Falls is where it'll be. Anywhere surrounding this hospital, you can basically bet that you will get good tenants because they have high-paying jobs. There will be, people there on contracts that'll be looking to rent rather than buy. But also this will bring a bunch of businesses to this area to support the hospital, similar to what they did in St. Catharines. So that's why I wanted to just let everyone know what it's going to look like, because I hadn't seen this before. And it's at this intersection here, which is just very close to everything else.
Very cool. And
then last but not least, this is the facility in Thorold that I've been openly obsessed about. It is just about done. If anyone watched the video of Peter filming me outside of it where I was getting blasted by the wind.
This is a development for the Canada Summer Games. I have mentioned it on the channel before. The reason why I think this is so super important is because every area in the Niagara region got a facility, or a facility was redone or enhanced, etc., bringing a lot of value. This was a joint effort between the feds, the provincial government, Niagara region, the city of Thorold, and as you can see, it is kind of like a little more modern than what Thorold's used to seeing. So this is a massive facility. The city of Thorold will have use of it for different things. And if you look to the other side, you will see Brock University, which will also have access to it. And then this is the Niagara Region building beside us. So definitely offers some potential for one, Airbnb if you own or you're planning on owning anywhere in the area.
This is what it looks like. And like I said, it's just about done. They're just doing like the outside concrete and stuff now. The top is like a moss roof, which is super cool. And this is one of the several facilities they built for the games. But for anyone, again, that's wondering, if money's being put into the region, yes, this is right across the street from Brock. And the government just made a pledge to give them additional funding for it, just to make up for the shortfall of delaying it. So this is super cool. Big things happening. This is in Thorold, which is a city of 20,000 people. So yeah, I just wanted to make everyone aware that this is what the final product will look like if they did see the video of me standing in front of it.
Nice.
All right. Any questions, Andrew?
Yeah, you kind of answered it, because I was going to ask you, and I didn't know how much more you had here, so I didn't want to chime in too much. But what opportunities, knowing that the market's grown so fast and it's frustrated so many people, as you've correctly pointed out. What do people have to do to adjust? Knowing what you've seen, knowing what you're seeing and what you see coming, how do they adjust to be effective? What are the top 3 things they need to be considering?
So one, like realtor with boots on the ground, because the opportunity still lies with the houses that aren't holding offers, that might accept a preemptive offer. So just making sure that your realtor is emailing the houses. So the Niagara region has a rule, the Niagara Association of Realtors has a rule that if they're not accepting preemptive offers, it has to be written, but we're the only board that has that. So if it says there's an offer date and it doesn't say that they're not accepting preemptives, emailing those people and asking, because in many cases they do. 2, basically just, and I tell this to all my clients, put in offers, like regardless of, especially investors, because the numbers have to work, put in the offer that works for you. Give the sellers everything that they're looking for in terms of closing date, deposit, tell them that they can leave their stuff behind. If it's an older person, we've won houses on that several times where we've just made it easy for people. But just always put in the offer because you really never know. That was like the house that we bought in Welland in December. Like I did not expect to get it, and we did, and that was because we made it easy for the seller. And 3, just don't get discouraged. I know that's such a hard thing to say, but keep viewing houses, keep putting offers in. I think that the time between when people start looking and when they get houses is the gap will close a bit. I'm seeing that with my clients now. So just keep looking, keep trying. You will get something despite it being exhausting.
Okay, thanks for that, Kayla. And how do people reach you?
On Instagram. So all the information will be below. My calendar to book a call is in there as well. Feel free to reach out, DM, call, happy to chat. And yeah, thanks, Andrew.
All right, thank you. And thanks to everyone watching this real estate market update. We will be back with many more. If you want to look me up, you can find me on Instagram at the Andrew Hines, or on any of the podcast platforms. Just search my name, Andrew Hines. Until then, I will see you on the next update.